Let's go round table, we dance where we're able. We do routines to call a scene to look for infant able. We dine well here in Camelot, we eat ham and jam and scramble.
I'm reviewing several. Or if you prefer.
Hey! Been trying to meet you.
Yeah, Kate Nash. This is a bit of an odd one, I suppose, right out of left field. As an artist, I very vaguely knew about her in the early 2000s. She sort of just popped up, sort of within that oeuvre of, I don't know, really early, maybe even just before Adele. I think Lily Allen was just starting to make some noise. There was Duffy. There was a certain, singer-songwriters who had a moment, and then they sort of faded away a bit. And I thought, I don't even know how or why, but I just happened to have caught wind of a track that she released very recently, actually, called GERM.
The norms have harmed us. Society is nonsense. It's just a social construct. It's all a load of bollocks.
Link in the description. Check that out. Like a mini essay set to music. Very good. I mean, just very, very up my alley. And I feel like this track may well be the same. I don't know anything about it. Just based on her general politics and what have you, I just feel like this is going to be interesting. We're a month away from a fairly significant and interesting set of elections over here, so yeah, I'm really interested to sort of hear her take on what I think. I think this is what it's going to be a comment on. I could be completely wrong though. I just get that vibe. We'll see. In that vein, I've opted to wear my waistcoat. Enough rambling. I'm curious. I'm interested. I wonder if it's going to provoke any annoying rambling from me. Let's find out. Let's just get to it. Kate Nash with Famine. London. I've got captions on. Oh, never mind. I might leave them on.
Okay, I want to talk about Ireland. Specifically, I want to talk about the famine. About the fact that there never really was one. There was no famine. See, Irish people were only allowed to eat potatoes. All the other food, meat, fish, vegetables were shipped out of the country under armed guard to England while Irish people starved. And then...
Oh, we're getting a... Literally, it's about that. Okay. That's very interesting. All right. I mean, yes, so obviously... Yeah, all right. The thing she's talking about, the famously oft referenced, potato famine. It is a very, convenient shorthand way of describing it, and also just sometimes when you hear the word famine, as with the Bengal famine of when was it, 43? Yeah, most famines are very they're man-made. They're policy decisions. They're not actually a result of natural disasters. They occur because of decisions made by governments. Quite a few by the British government.
Out of the country under armed guard to England while Irish people starved. And then, in the middle of all this, they gave us money not to teach our children Irish, and so we lost our history. And this is what I think is still hurting me. See, we're like a child that's been battered, has to drive itself out of its head because it's frightened, still feels all the painful feelings, but they lose contact with the memory. And this leads to massive self-destruction, alcoholism, drug addiction, all desperate attempts at running, and in its worst form becomes actual killing. And if there is ever gonna be healing, there has to be remembering and grieving, so that there can be forgiving. There has to be knowledge and understanding. There was no famine, was no famine. There was no famine, there was no famine.
Okay. How did I forget or not cotton on that? Yeah, that Kate Nash is, well, presumably she is Irish. She must obviously has Irish heritage. Let me look it up, because I don't want to be stupid. I want to just talk nonsense about a person without actually doing a tiny bit of due diligence on that front. Okay, yeah. So she's got heritage. Been born in London, but has Irish parents within the Irish community of North Harrow in London. Yeah, okay. Mother was from Dublin, and even if it doesn't have a direct connection to current, the upcoming election and the current political situation. It does a bit, because even that banner in and of itself is quite provocative. Saying that the English don't know their history, whether it's in connection with Ireland or, frankly, anything that connects to the empire. And, England's role, specifically England's role in the world over the last, 1,000 years. A lot of that stuff is stuff you don't really. I mean, I never got taught this kind of stuff at school, obviously. I mean, you literally get, you get the Tudors, Elizabethan England, bit of Shakespeare, World War One, World War Two. Thank you, goodbye. I don't know how different it is now. Be curious about. I know that my kids get, a slightly more broad scope of history, I think, nowadays. But broadly speaking, we're not really in touch with within the British Isles. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of stuff that's gone on that most people are not cognizant of. That's why, recent events around Brexit, how that impacted Northern Ireland in particular, and all that stuff, a lot of people didn't quite understand what was the big deal, because although the Troubles ended just a few short decades ago, a lot of people just don't really, at least in England, I think, don't have that much of a connection to it, unless they are literally from Irish communities or take the time to learn about it. The inclusion of that, actually, I do genuinely like the drum, and I like this style of a spoken word sort of
American Army
recitation.
regulation says you mustn't kill more than 10% of a nation, because to do so causes permanent psychological damage. It's not permanent, but they didn't know that. Anyway, during the supposed famine, we lost a lot more than 10% of our nation through deaths on land or ships of emigration. But what finally broke us was not starvation, but its use in the controlling of our education. Schools go on about Black 47, on and on about the terrible famine, but what they don't say is in the truth. There never really was one. Was no famine. There was no famine.
Sorry, but I do dig
one.
this kind of thing. Just musically, the musicality of it, the drums and the use of the pipe here, it's nice touch, and I generally just like the delivery of just almost reciting a poem or an essay with that kind of accompaniment.
England doesn't take responsibility for destruction that it's caused, for its empire and now Commonwealth. They left us uninformed and we are lost. Like the reality of our history, like decades of land we invade, not just killing, crushing culture, taking away identity and heritage, tradition and music. Therefore love, confidence and understanding about who you are and where you're from and what you're made of. It's essential that we educate. There's blood on hands and guilt at stake. England needs a hug. It's backed itself into a corner like a scared dog. If we can learn the truth with compassion and understanding, we can move forward. And then we can learn not to pass on our trauma.
Yep, back just a tiny bit. Yeah. I like this kind of message as well. I'm sorry, I'm just literally absorbing it, genuinely, because it's that idea of learning from history. I think history has so much value, because even if it doesn't repeat, it rhymes. It always provides patterns, it provides context, it provides insights to how we are now, and we really do need to learn from it. We do need to remember important lessons from it, and it's important for people. I mean, frankly, as a person who is just, I think, pretty much as white English as it gets, I don't think I have a lot of connection. I think I've got some heritage, a few generations back that's Welsh. So, but in terms of, I don't have a community that I belong to where I have historical wrongs and historical crimes in some cases that impact me today. I don't think in the same way. Whereas any number of people, whether it's from the devolved nations of the United Kingdom or people who are living within those nations who have different ethnic backgrounds, obviously sexuality and identity, there's all these different areas where you have a history up until so recently where they're treated in an abhorrent way, and that impacts, even if you get laws and attitudes that broadly speaking change, there's still an undercurrent. There is such a thing as institutional racism. There's structural and cultural biases that run really deep, even up to the point where you have, you had, when I was a kid, certainly you had, Irish jokes, as well as Pakistani jokes that were just loosely just a given. You'd hear them in the playground all the time. Yeah, no, I do find this interesting as a way of delivering the message, and yeah, not what I was expecting at all. Really, I'm kind of absorbing it more than anything. Apologies, I'm not saying much other than the occasional ramble.
Passion and understanding, we can move forward, and then we can learn not to pass on our trauma. And if there is ever gonna be healing, there has to be remembering then grieving, so that there can be forgiving. There has to be knowledge and understanding. And if there is ever gonna be healing, there has to be remembering then grieving, so that there can be forgiving. There has to be knowledge and understanding.
I'm sorry, I can't go over the pipe and the drums combination. I love it. Again, I love the fact that this video consists almost entirely of them walking around just with that banner, because that banner by itself would just provoke people, because they'll just assume it's an attack. But it's not really an attack, it's just stating a fact, really, and inviting a conversation where people would see it as, oh, I know my history. Yeah, okay, but do you? Slightly scratchy, discordant violin there. Again, all the imagery of the imagery of the flags as well. I've got someone 3 doors down who's literally flying one right now for fuck knows what reason. We know where we are. Not realising that Ireland and Northern Ireland, they're a part of that identity, but they probably don't even think of it in those terms. I wouldn't have thought. They don't think of Scotland, Wales. For them, I think it defaults to that connotates England specifically. The Union flag. Yeah, I like this juxtaposition of this kind of style, this kind of music, interspersed with that imagery, particularly of the flags, and with just that banner being dominant. Just letting that, what we would probably think of as traditional Irish sort of style of music, dominates nearly half the track.
It's not called Great Famine anymore. There's nothing great about it. It's called Anarcho-syndicalist, which was in English translated as the Big Hunger.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I did end up rambling a bit. Sorry about that. But as far as the song itself is concerned, it's pretty straightforward, obviously, and the message of it is very unambiguous. I like the composition of the video overall, and I like the fact that you give so much time to just letting that particular style of music play. I enjoyed the touch of the violin feeling like it having a sort of scratchy, slightly discordant quality to it, and even at the very end where it just sort of like squeaks off, almost like a record scratch effect. This is in keeping with the overall, I wouldn't say negative message, actually. I think that the overall message is it's positive in its way. Because I think any opportunity to educate, any opportunity to sort of enlighten, any opportunity to just state some facts, it's worth doing. There's benefit to that. Anywho, kind of a random one, I guess, but I enjoyed it, and I found it very interesting. Let me know if I should check out other tracks, not just by Kate Nash, but by other artists who have a message, because I realise as well in the Irish context, I still haven't heard any Kneecap. I feel like I should. Anyway, thanks as always for stopping by. Give your thoughts, please, on the track. Give it a like if you liked it. And yeah. Bye forever.
Shut up! Will you shut up? Shut up! Bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh?